My name is Dan Vlamis. I'm president of Vlamis Software Solutions, and welcome to today's presentation, part of the OTN Summit on Transforming Business Intelligence with Oracle BI Cloud Services. So before we begin, we have to give Oracle's standard safe harbor statement saying you can't put this in contracts and things may change. Today, most of this is going to be demo-based. We'll give a real quick intro demo to BI Cloud Services, and then that proceeds to whet your appetite for a fuller discussion of BI Cloud Services background, why it's important on the cloud, and a little bit with our own take on how BICS handles both exploring and explaining some of the data. Then we'll give a fuller demo of BI Cloud Services, focusing on the visual analyzer interface and showing you what you can do with VA, and hopefully you'll come back from that with a better sense of how that helps you explore through your data. After that, we'll show you how you can actually try this out yourself via our test drive program. You can try BI Cloud Services on the Oracle Cloud for free. Then at the end, there'll be time for Q&A, and we'll talk a little bit about some Vlamis, where we fit in all this, and some resources that you may have and may be interested in. With that, let's jump into a quick demo of BI Cloud Services so you can see just something about the interface before we talk about the architecture and why you might care.
All right, so we have, we'll start the demo by I've opened up part of what this looks like after we've gone through part of the demonstration. You'll see exactly how we build the screen, but I just want to give you a sense of some of the features of the interface. I've opened this up with part of the demo already done. To show off some of the features, let me just put this in presentation mode real quick here, and that way we can focus on this part of the screen. Some of the features of the visual analyzer interface include the brushing feature in order to be able to see, for instance, if I hover over each of these points, a box appears showing what the data values are. That extends for both the line graph and for this horizontal bar chart, indeed all of them. As I hover over, I can see that. That extends as well to the legend, and we'll focus for now on portable, and I give control click on camera and highlight those. You'll see that those make up really the lion's share of the revenue in here. All the various visualizations on this screen are all linked. So you'll notice as I did that in the horizontal bar chart, it also applies those same highlighting over in the tree map control. And then if I want to, for instance, click drill on this, one of the features is to drill. To do this, there's other right-click actions, but let me just show you drilling this by area and by product. If I come in here and show that, now we're looking at that more integrated, seeing the individual products that make up those specific product types, and I simultaneously drilled by area of the world to focus on those areas of the world. Anytime I want to undo an action, there's a built-in undo. It's kind of a nice feature they put into the visual analyzer interface from the very beginning, is undo. I don't know if you guys run into this. There's times when you want to undo anything you've done. If I have, for instance, this insight that I've developed that, across, it looks like worldwide, camera and portable make up the lion's share of the sales. I can go ahead and then add that insight. Let me take this out of presentation mode, come in here and add in the storybook feature. I can come in here and add an insight, and for instance put in here that consistent sales, for instance, put in consistent sales and camera and portable are the highest worldwide, something like that, to come in and add that as an insight. As well, all this is fully editable. I can go in and remove any of these visualizations. Maybe I don't like having this performance tile in here anymore. It seems like a good thing at the time, and so I can remove that. I can, since I'm going to focus in on this horizontal bar chart, let's put that on the leftmost side so that people see that in the upper left-hand corner of this. And I can even come in, maybe I want to now go in a different area and focus, instead of looking at this by product type, I can focus this in instead by segment. So let's go ahead and open up the folder, grab this for customer segment, and let's go ahead and replace the color, the product type with customer segment. You simply drag these values in, and it changes the way that visualization presents itself. As well, now, if I really like the way this appears, I can come in here and save this as in a presentation anytime I want, so that I can get back at this later. So let's go ahead and save that as revenue by customer segment. Click on OK, and now I can retrieve this type of project, and that's how you can create other projects from others. There's other features in this. We'll go and show exactly how we created this presentation from scratch, starting with a blank slate later on. I just wanted to give you a taste of what that interface looks like so you can appreciate some of the capabilities of Visual Analyzer. With that, let me switch and talk a little more about the Visual Analyzer interface a little more.
So in that demonstration, with just that quick demo, we tried to show you in general visualizations. We then went into presentation mode to focus in on how that looks. You saw it was an interactive environment, and as I moved the mouse, you saw the brushing feature that allows you to focus in on some of the data and see some of the examples of these specific data values. It also worked in the undo capability so that you could undo other actions. That turns out to be pretty important when you're doing this stuff in the real world and you don't realize what happened to change things. Very nice feature that they incorporated in there. There's also a story navigator and insights that you can include, and we showed a quick drill down of drilling down into the data. Again, an important feature in any kind of BI tool, especially an exploration tool. And then we can move those visualizations around in the canvas, including deleting various visualizations. And of course, you can save a project at the end. So now that we've talked about that, let's go a little bit into a BI Cloud Services background. The origins in this really come from Oracle Business Intelligence Enterprise Edition, or OBIEE. And the difference with BI Cloud Services, of course, the CS, is that this Oracle hosts this on the Oracle Cloud. Makes it very approachable, and there's no in-house server that you have to worry about deploying. There's little upfront investment in doing this. And it includes the data visualization / visual analyzer interface that you saw in here, and also includes a very powerful data mashup feature where you can bring your own data to this. Any user can bring their own data without having to have somebody from a central source use and upload that data. End users can do that for themselves. Some of the advantages then of using BI Cloud Services on the Oracle Cloud is it's easy to deploy. There's no install involved in doing that because it's all Oracle is taking care of installing that. There's no modeling. The modeling is built into the tool. There's not a separate BI admin tool like there is for Oracle Business Intelligence Enterprise Edition. And it's kind of an easier interface to get at the data. It's just a series of panels of forms that you fill out. You can also roll back to a prior state very easily. There's a snapshot and replay capability via something called the bar file that allows you to roll back to a previous state. It's very cost effective to get started. It's not a big license that you're purchasing. It's really just a subscription to BI Cloud Services that you're getting. You can connect to data in the cloud. Of course, Oracle would love to see you upload your data to their cloud, make it real easy to move stuff back and forth. Or more recently, you can connect to your on-premise data and keep the data in your data center, but then use BICS to reach through to your on-prem data and display that to your users. It does include the Visual Analyzer interface that you saw and will see more of. And it encourages more experimentation because it's on the Oracle's cloud and you don't have to install all this stuff. It really encourages you to try things for yourself, and that can be especially appropriate when you're not wanting to involve the IT for some extra sandbox environment. You just want to try something out. BI Cloud Services can be a very nice way to try and do that without having to worry about investing in new server architecture and such. One of the things we wanted to talk about then is when you're looking at BI systems, they're traditionally used for really two types of uses. This is a way that we at Vlamis kind of look at things. The traditional way of using answers and dashboards is kind of via this explanation type of way of looking at things. I want to then explain or have everybody on a common set of ideas and how they operate with the world. And you explain, this is what we think sales are, this is what we think we should be doing, or explaining a difference in which territory is above or below another territory, those types of things. Another way of using a BI system, and people try to use the same tool for both, and sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, is to explore through the data. And this is the capability that is there in that visual analyzer interface, is the ability to explore through the data, drill down through it, and you really don't know what you're looking for. You're just wandering in the wilderness. BI Cloud Services offers both this explanation type of capability and this exploration type of capability. It has consistently designed dashboards with a single source of truth against a common enterprise information model. And when you have dashboards that are all designed in the same way and carefully constructed, that can ease training of new staff. And that especially is handled by the Answers and Dashboards capability in BI Cloud Services, and for that matter, OBIEE. What Visual Analyzer adds is this exploration way of exploring through the data where users can explore on their own. There's free-form capabilities to support various users' needs. And then the data mashup capability even allows people to bring their own data to their dashboards. You don't have to rely on somebody loading all of that data. You just upload an Excel spreadsheet, for instance. And if people can use BI Cloud Services and you have BICS already being used for your dashboards, if they use that same tool for exploring the data, it allows them to keep using standard tools instead of having to go and export everything out to Excel or bring in other data visualization tools. They may not be supported as well by your organization. That's what VA in BICS and Data Visualization Cloud Services brings to this. So with that, let's jump into a demo, a fuller demo of BI Cloud Services, and show you how that we built those dashboards that we showed before in Visual Analyzer, how we built those projects. All right, so this is what the sign-in page looks like for the Oracle Cloud. We're going to go into BI Cloud Services, and let me show you how to create one of these Visual Analyzer projects from scratch. So I'm going to sign into one of our test drive users, and I'm presented with several different areas that I can go within the BI Cloud Services interface. We're going to focus today on the VA projects area. Let's come in here and let me show you how to create. I can replay previous projects that I've done, or I can create a brand new project from scratch. So I'm going to select first thing you have to do is add a data source. Where's the data going to come from? I'll select the one that we have here. We have one in the test drive area called Sample App, and we're going to add that to our project. We're presented then with a blank canvas. This is where I drop various visualizations or data elements in here, and we're going to just select from the data elements pane, grab revenue, and simply drag it over to the presentation canvas, and we can create a visualization. So at that point, we see a horizontal bar graph of this, and I can have other elements added to this as well. If I want to break this down, for instance, by product, I simply open up the products folder and drag product over here, and it adds it to the canvas as well. Now if I want to come in and change these bars, for instance, if I want to sort them, I can right click and sort the revenue high to low, for instance, to change the sort order of that. A lot of the things in the interface are done either via a right click or by clicking on a gear icon, those types of things. So if I want to then save that, come in and save the project. I'm going to save this as, let's say, just revenue by product. So it asks, do you want to overwrite? Sure, I'll overwrite that and put that in my project folder. If I want to then modify the visualization, I can change the various types of this by changing the visualization type. You can see this is set right now to a horizontal stacked, but I can change that to other types of visualizations as well, and we'll go through several of these in this demonstration. If I want to then add region, I want to break this down by region as well, and let's say I don't know where that exists. I can use the search box to type in region, and it'll tell me, okay, that's where it is. So it's within geography. I can then click and drag over, and then I can either drag it to this area in the presentation space, or let me show within this column, I can change this to break things down by color, by region. So I just simply drop that in there, and now we have the same bar graph, but it's a stacked bar graph showing the products broken down by region, by color. Now, if I want to, one of the capabilities of the software is as you hover over each of the bar segments, it will tell you something about that. You can change these, and the pop-up appears so that you can know exactly what the revenue dollar figure was for each one of those. If I then want to change the format of that, for instance, I want to put a dollar sign in front of that because it's some currency, I can come in, change the gear, change the properties of that for the number, and I want to see that appear as a different number format. So let's select that as a currency value. Now when I click off of that, we'll see as I hover over this, I have a dollar sign appearing. You can change the number of decimals, all sorts of things. If I want to then interchange, right now this is showing separate bars for Americas, APAC, and EMEA. Perhaps I want to swap this, so I'll grab product, and I'm clicking and holding down the mouse button, and as I move that around, notice where that either inserts, or I can change that to a swap, and I can swap region with product, and now it changes the way the bar is represented. And so now we have something different where we are looking a bar for each of the three regions and broken down by product. If I instead want to see this perhaps by product type, clear my search parameter, I can change this from product type instead of product. All I do is drag that over, and notice the X appears saying that, hey, you're not going to have that by product anymore. Instead, it's going to be by product type. Now we're breaking it down by product types instead of a different level of aggregation as by product itself. So now I'm going to save this away and save that as revenue by region. Okay, so now let's say we like this type of presentation of it. Now I can add, for instance, a line chart. Let's try and do that. So let me show you a different way of doing this. Instead of dragging them over to this presentation space, perhaps I want to look at trending information, and I want to look at this by quarter. Let's take the same revenue and break it down by quarter. I'm going to hold down the control key while I click quarter, and then right click on this and ask the software to create the best visualization for revenue by quarter. So when I select create best visualization, it will go and add a line chart, because it thinks that line charts are best for a trending type of thing, because the software knows that quarter is a time dimension, and so it knows to display that as a line. Perhaps I want to break that down also by brand. So let's open this up, and as I drag over the revenue by quarter, I will get a different color, for instance, for each brand of product. Now, perhaps within this, I want to display only the data for the last 4 quarters. And I can take advantage of a capability called marquee selection. So I'm going to hold down the mouse button as I select a polygon of information. And I'm going to select these data points. And once I select those, notice the other pane that is mapped to that also changes, and then I can simply right click on this and specify keep selected. Now we're going to just keep those selected ones, and that changes in both panes, both for the bar chart and for the line chart are now filtered. That automatically filtered the data to just those 4 quarters. I can then rearrange this to, if you pick a visualization, I can drag this over here, and then when I drop it, it'll appear with the line chart up top and the bar graph down below. Notice it adjusts the visualization automatically. Let's say I want to then add a performance tile, another type of capability. I can come in and from revenue, if I right click on revenue and specify pick visualization, I can specify exactly which type of visualization I want to see, and perhaps I want to see a performance tile based on that, and it'll add that to the canvas automatically with a default way of presenting the data. If I want to format that differently, I can specify the properties of this specific type of visualization and come in and change that from the number tab and change the number format to, for instance, change the decimal numbers to just 1. So from here under values, specify a number and specify that I want to abbreviate this. Let's turn on abbreviations and let's specify decimal values as none. Click off of it, and now that changes that. Now I'm going to show you another way of doing this. If I come in and specify, click on the visualizations tab, I can come in here and grab a map. You'll see there's all sorts of different visualizations that we can specify. I can drag a map visualization, for instance, down here and provide a map visualization on here. We'll need some data elements to add to this. So let me go ahead and grab some of those. Anytime you have a map, of course, you need some kind of geographical component. So there must be something in my geography folder that can do that. Let's grab the country name. And I'm going to drag that over to here and drop that down. And now we'll get a map of the world on here. It'll make a whole lot more sense if we drag some data on top of here as well. So I'm going to take the revenue and I'm going to color code the map shape based on the revenue. So now we get our map of the world color coded by country, and where revenue is, the darker it is, the more revenue that we have. You can see that the United States seems to have the most revenue in here, so we'll want to focus in on that. So let me go ahead and one of the things you can do as well is to maximize this visualization. So I'm going to go ahead and maximize country, the map portion of this, so we can focus in on that. Now we're going to go and change the properties of this. I'm going to rename this. So change the title to custom, and let's call this country-wise revenue. And as well, I want to change the zoom control and turn the zoom control on so we can zoom into that map more effectively. So now we can, that adds that plus sign, and I can come in and zoom into the map and focus in on parts of the world. Now let me go ahead back, show you how that ends up if I don't expand onto this, and I can add a, for instance, a tree map on here. So let's go ahead and add that. Let me show you a different way of doing that. If I take the revenue by region and product type, and I select the menu icon on here, I can copy that visualization from the drop-down menu. And now I can paste that, for instance, right in here, for instance, paste that visualization, and that makes a copy of the revenue by region and product type and adds it to my canvas. So now we've got a second copy of the revenue by region and product type. I can change the view type of that to, for instance, a tree map. So that's how you can make a copy of something. You know you have the data that you want. You just want to change the way the visualization is done. Now, if I wanted to, for instance, change this such that product type, I can drag product type down below region, and that way I'm not breaking it down by color. It's a little too much color in that. So now we'll look at this broken down by the various product types. That reserves color to be used for a different purpose. So let's take build units and drag that into the color area, and now we can look at a tree map of the data broken down by tree map by region, and within that product type, and then colorize that based on build units. So there's a lot of power in here. Let me expand that so you can see what that looks like on here, taking up the whole pane of that. As I hover over various elements also, it highlights those and pops up with that on the display. So even though we now have, you can see portable is making up the lion's share, portable and camera, that's the most that is within the Americas, EMEA, and for that matter, APAC as well. Now let me show you another capability where we can create a filter that does not exist already. So in the filters bar up here that's automatically added, we can remove the filter based on quarter, and we'll no longer be filtering the data by quarter, and that will include all the different quarters. Remember, we originally, marquee selected those so that we would focus on only the latest quarters. So I can remove that filter, and that shows all of the quarters in all of the visualizations. By default, they're all linked together. Now if I want to, for instance, instead of looking at this by quarter, I may instead want to look at it by year. So I find, in the same way I find the year category, and let's go ahead and change that for the revenue by quarter and brand. I'll make that the current visualization. If I drag year then up here and replace quarter with year, it'll break down the data by year instead of by quarter. If I want to then filter based on country, this is something people often want to do, is then kind of page through the data. I can do that as well. So I can drag country up here to the filter pane, and when I do that, it creates kind of a dynamic filter, and we'll break down the data by country. And then you can, there's a search box in here. I can select Australia, and for that matter, I can come in here and maybe I want to look at Australia and India, just picking two, for instance, and add those to my visualization. and now the selections are based on just Australia and India. And so now we're filtering the data based on just Australia and India. And you can see even in the map, it's highlighting those values. So by default, the visualizations are linked. You can break that link, by the way, if you want to. And now all of the visualizations are linked in that way. We can also create for instance, a calculated item. Perhaps we want to add a calculation to do something like the average revenue per customer. Let's click on Add Calculation. And we're going to add the calculation and call it AVG revenue per customer. And then all we do to fill in the expression is specify, for instance, I want revenue. So we'll drag that over. And then there's all sorts of operators and functions you can use here. If you're doing a simple division, it's easier to just type the division. But divided by, for instance, number of customers. And there is a whole library of various functions that you can do for adding different calculations in here, including, by the way, some analytic functions that are very interesting and some time series functions. I can save that away, and that will be added then to my list of columns that I can look at. It appears down at the bottom. Okay, so we have, I want to show you one more thing. We'll create a new analysis, and that's to be able to extend the data that you have in a given data set. So let's create a brand new project. I'm going to show you how to do this from scratch. So we're going to create a new project on Sample App, just like before. We could have extended what we had, but I wanted to clear everything out and start fresh. So I'm going to grab revenue that we had before and products, and I'm going to right click, and this time I'm going to pick the visualization. I'm going to show a pivot table so I can demonstrate what's going on here. So this just produces a very simple table with each of our products and the revenue for each of those products pulled from our BICS repository that somebody had set up for us. So now let's say you can see all the different columns we have of products. Notice there is no manufacturer in here. And let's say that somebody, whoever set this up did not load manufacturer, and it was not even part of the table. Now I've gone ahead and created a spreadsheet that has the manufacturer for each of these products, and I can add that as just an end user. Let me show you what that looks like. So here is the product manufacturers, a list of all of them, and you can see for each product I've got what the manufacturer is, and just for fun I've also included a numeric measure of how many we have on hand. Often people want to be able to add their own data to the system, and they just want to be able to add that in. So let's go ahead and come in here. I can right click then in this area and add a data source in my data pane, and add a data source, and I can click on Create New Data Source within BICS and select. It can either, by the way, it can come from Oracle Applications or it can come from a file, an Excel file. In this case I can select the file that I've created, Prod Manufacturers, and it goes ahead and loads that into BICS and presents a panel of what that looks like. Here's the list of each of the products that was in that spreadsheet, and then there's a second column that's the manufacturer for each, and then the on hand. It's figured out that it can match the products to the product column, and because attribute is a textual type of column, it figures out that that's probably an attribute. By the way, I can override that if I want to, and it figures out that measure, because it's numeric, is probably a measure. And so let's go ahead and add that to the project, and that's going to add that. Now at the bottom you can see we've got Sample App, and we have another data source called Prod Manufacturers with all of that. So now I can grab the manufacturer column and add that simply over here as another row, and it'll add that to the pivot table. Now revenue, mind you, is coming from the other data source, and that's from our normal data source, and this spreadsheet is just adding the manufacturer, and for that matter we can add the on-hand value as well in here. If we want to then total by this, we can come in and choose as a property, come in here and add totals below show the totals for the products as well, and then you can see the total for each manufacturer, the revenue for that, and for each of the manufacturers for each of the products. So it just shows you an example of how you can extend your data model to include additional spreadsheet values. Often people want to be able to do this type of thing. And just one more thing to show, and that would be if we change this to a scatter chart. One thing that was added relatively recently in BI Cloud Services is the ability to have a spreadsheet. Let me take off the on-hand value on here, and you can see this is now showing each of the values in a scatter chart. And then if I colorize this based on manufacturer, you can see a pattern comes out that shows the microcell values are the lowest revenue, if you can, and it stands out very nicely in a categorical type of scatter chart. So just to go show you a little example of what you can do when you combine your data that is curated in the BI Cloud Services repository with additional spreadsheet values. You can even report directly off of just spreadsheets if that's what you prefer to do, and not even use some of the data that's already there. Okay, I want to show one more thing, and that is the ability for answers, the old interface, to be there as well. The ability to kind of go in and create purposeful built dashboards to more explain data from what we were talking about. So we've got a sample dashboard here that I'll load, and this sample dashboard has your standard prompts in it. You can select years, for instance, with drop-down choice lists. You have a fair amount of control over how you're going to actually change those prompt values. Different types of prompts, again, same type of thing, where you can select what product you want to see. And then we've got the full answers interface, the dashboard interface, with tables of data, same types of visualizations that we had with Oracle BI. Indeed, this is basically Oracle BI running on the cloud. And so you have that type of dashboard. We've also got multiple dashboard pages, same type of thing as we had before. And for those that are not familiar, maybe this is just a quick little demo of the fact that you can create dashboards with the interface that isn't Visual Analyzer, with the old Answers interface. Indeed, if I go in and analyze this, it'll bring up the same Answers interface with a Criteria tab, a Results tab. In the Criteria tab, you specify exactly what you want, which columns you want to see, and various filters. This is what the interface looks like. And then in the Results tab, you can see then the results of your what you've selected. So same type of capabilities, come in here and modify your tables and so forth. All of this layout stuff is still there, and it's just an added bonus besides the Visual Analyzer interface. So hopefully that gives you just a sense of some of the things that are here when you use the Answers interface. One of the big advantages, obviously, with BI Cloud Services is the new Visual Analyzer interface, really designed for exploring through the data as opposed to explaining the data, which is more the Answers interface. So hopefully that gives you a sense of stuff that's still there. Okay, so in that demonstration, we tried to show you in BI Cloud Services how to create a new project, how to create one from scratch, everything that we showed you before. How to order a graph, saving the visualization. We also showed adding and coloring by a dimension. and there's many ways to navigate in the system, but one way, and display various aspects of a visualization, but coloring them by a dimension. We also showed formatting visualizations in a couple different ways, navigating through it, and added a line chart. Then we also used the marquee selection capability to keep just 4 quarters selected, and then added performance tiles, maps, and tree maps to that. And then we also showed how the filtering capability allows you to select which countries you want to look at, or whatever column you're looking at, as well as adding your own new type of calculation to the system. So hopefully that makes it so you want to try this out yourself. We offer a Oracle test drive of BI Cloud services. We also, by the way, have advanced analytics. To do that, all you do is go to vlamis.com/td. It runs on the Oracle Cloud. There's a test drive for BICS that you can do, and once you sign up, you have that access for 24 hours. We include a click-by-click script, but you can also go totally off-road if you want to try something different yourself. And we find that it's faster and easier than the official Oracle trial cloud accounts and such, and it's available right now. What that looks like is you go to vlamis.com/td, specify you want to try out the BI Cloud service, give us a little bit of information about you on how we can reach you, and if you include in the comments in there that you want to try this out from the webcast, we'll also include something so you can try out the data mashup capabilities as well. Click on the submit button and we'll send you an email with a user ID, password, and the script that you can try out. And in that PowerPoint is exactly what we did in order to do this demonstration. So you can follow along with us click by click. You sign into BI Cloud Services, open up the PDF file, and you're off and running. Or, as I mentioned, you can go totally off-road and do something totally different with it. A little bit then about, hopefully you've seen that there's some value in what we're providing here. If you care a little bit about what we do with Vlamis Software Solutions, we've been around for over 20 years, developed all sorts of BI and analytics systems. I'm an Oracle ACE. We have multiple Oracle ACEs in the company. We're also authors of data visualization for Oracle Business Intelligence and Oracle University partners. So we can help you out. We'd love to chat with you more. Some of the things we provide on our website are various presentations. I just highlight here some of the ones that we have on Oracle Business Intelligence new features. And for instance, back in March of 2016, we talked about what was new in the BICS March 2016 release. If you want to keep up on what you do with that, what's coming out with BICS, we have regular presentations where we go over new features of the BI product stack. If you want more resources on this, go to, here's a list of places. I'll give this to you for a little longer later on, but you can test drive BICS yourself. Go to our website. I've included some stuff on getting information on BICS and Oracle BI in general, and of course the Oracle Technology Network. And there's my contact information. With that, we'll go ahead and go through and get ready for Q&A. Just before we totally turn things over to that, you may want to avail yourself of some training from Oracle University. You can get that at education.oracle.com. And here's that same list of resources so that you can experiment and find out more on your own. With that, I'll thank you for participating in today's presentation. Really enjoyed it, and please reach out to us to get more information and try out that test drive.